In today's video, we'll walk through a new feature of .NET 8, which is the enhanced Docker integration into your C# projects. With this advancement, the task of navigating Docker containers and building them for your own applications is more user-friendly for developers, simplifying an often complex process so you can containerize your application with nothing more than .NET. Docker tooling brings some incredible benefits to the table, such as unparalleled isolation and repeatability for when you're deploying your applications. However, tapping into these advantages often comes at a cost, and that is the complexity of some of Docker's toolings like Docker files, CLI commands, and more. But .NET 8 comes to the rescue here by dramatically simplifying these complexities for your .NET applications, making it easier for you to get all those Docker benefits without that steep learning curve. The new Docker integration in .NET 8 focuses on streamlining the handling of your Docker images for your applications. This is expanding on some functionality that was introduced in .NET 7 via a separate NuGet package, where now in .NET 8 it is built right into the SDK and your standard .NET CLI. This is a great quality of life feature for .NET since it rolls up a lot of best practices for containerizing your ASP.NET application into a standardized process using the well-known .NET publish command and your application's specific csproj project file. And further customizations are also available via new configuration options. One example is the container family MS build property, by providing an option to select different Microsoft provided container images as your application's base image. And for those of you already using ServiceStack, you don't have to do anything different when creating new projects, as we've updated our project templates to include this by default. So when you use the ServiceStack.NET X tool with the command x new web space myapp, we generate a new web project utilizing ServiceStack's web template. And with our recent updates, this comes with automatic support for these Docker features of .NET 8, making the setup and containerization of your project streamlined and more straightforward. For example, if we now use the .NET publish command with our project, it will create a Docker image and publish it to our local Docker repository by default. Of course, there are other configuration options you can take advantage of, like the container runtime identifier, which specifies your container's operating system and architecture. For example, to have your application run on an ARM64 based Linux system in the Docker container, we can set the container runtime identifier to Linux-ARM64, and your application can now benefit from more cost-effective hosting options running on the power-efficient ARM platform. While the .NET publish command doesn't explicitly need additional Docker tooling to create the image, to publish the image to a repository, either local or remote, you will need tooling like Docker Desktop. Your project can be configured to push to any container repository directly from your project file, which means not only can all developers easily create consistent containerized applications using .NET Publish, but this consistency can extend to your CI environment as well. The MS Build Container Registry property here is critical as it designates your image's destination registry. This can be your local Docker daemon or a remote registry compatible with Docker Registry HTTP API version 2. Moreover, the new Docker integration supports authentication via the Docker login command for any remote registries. All MS Build properties can be passed in via the command line using the .NET Publish command by using the -p syntax and specifying the property name and value. So your CI could override defaults like the container registry value to push to a container registry like the GitHub Container Registry or ghcr.io. Which brings us to GitHub Actions. These improvements to .NET containerization tooling work smoothly with other related infrastructure since .NET Publish is producing the Docker image, which can be used like any other containerized image. Here we can have the release.yaml GitHub action that comes with these ServiceStack templates, showing how you can build and push your containerized applications to the GitHub Container Registry or GHCR. We first log in using the GitHub token and then run .NET Publish like normal. Here we are overriding a few properties for our CI, and these are container repository, container registry, container image tags, and container port. And we are also specifying the OS, architecture, and release build as well. As you can see, integrating Docker with .NET 8 and GitHub Actions has become significantly more manageable and streamlined with these improvements to .NET. When deploying your application, you can use whatever tools you prefer since these .NET improvements focus on just producing the image itself. For example, by default, these ServiceStack templates use Docker Compose with remote SSH commands to host your containerized applications behind an Nginx proxy that's also running in Docker, which handles your traffic forwarding and TLS certificate management. However, you could just as easily use one of the cloud providers such as Azure or AWS to host your applications and still take advantage of these .NET improvements. .NET 8 simplifies the Docker experience, paving the way for a more straightforward approach to software containerization, and our ServiceStack templates have been updated to take advantage of this. If this improved .NET tooling doesn't have all the flexibility you need, you can always start with a custom base image that has any resources that you might need specific to your application. Or if you absolutely need control of your Docker file, there is open source tooling that I'll leave a link for in the description that can convert your CSproj approach to a custom Docker file, which means you get the best of both worlds by starting with a simple and streamlined approach using the improved .NET tooling, but always have a way for further customizations down the road if absolutely needed. Well, that's it for this video, and don't forget to check out our other .NET 8 release videos for seeing how they integrate with ServiceStack. If you have any questions or feedback, let us know in the comments or join us on our community Discord or GitHub discussions. ServiceStack is free for individuals, so anyone is welcome. And as always, thanks for watching.